Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the kickoff of our IST webinar series. My name is Justin Zielinski. I'm an educational consultant here with IST. I am joined today with my partner in crime, JJ Burkhart, who is our service manager. And he's going to be helping show us a couple of cool things relative to our topic of today, which is going to be exploring FANUC ROBOGUIDE simulation software. Before we get into that, I wanted to go over a couple housekeeping items. We are going to look to continue doing this webinar series about every other week, so on a bi-weekly basis. We would obviously welcome any feedback from anyone who may be listening relative to if they have a specific topic in mind that they'd like to see covered. Obviously, if you have any questions once you view these recordings, you're more than welcome to get a hold of us. We'd love to talk with you and see what you guys got going on within your various programs. As far as moving into our topic for today, I also wanted to pivot real briefly for any of our new listeners or anybody who may not be very familiar with who we are here at IST. You'll see a list of some partners of ours on your screen here. Essentially, to try to put it in a nutshell for you, we are partnered with several world-leading manufacturing companies who span a variety of different disciplines in the world of robotics, CNC, PLCs, motion control technologies, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, welding, Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, or even design, just to name a few of them. Essentially, what we do with these manufacturing companies that you see pictured here is we're essentially their voice in education. And what I mean by that is we are able to partner with them, and the overall theme of what it is that we're trying to do at IST is help them bridge the gap between industry and education. And we do that in a variety of ways. First and foremost is making sure that we are able to ensure your students in your various programs are training on industry relevant equipment. It is a very, very, very big factor relative to when your students are leaving your programs and they go off and to work in your local industries. It is imperative that when they first set foot into these manufacturing companies that they are not looking at equipment for the first time. So that's a big reason when we partner with new manufacturing companies, that's one of the biggest things we look for is ensuring that they are actually relevant in industry. So that's again, when you take a look at the screen you have before you and the names that you see, that all of these companies do cross that. So that's a big reason that we like to partner with them. Another thing that we like to do relative to having industry prevalent equipment put in your labs is we want to make sure that your instructors have all the resources they need in order to successfully teach students on this industry relevant equipment. For example, we want to make sure that they're properly trained. We want to make sure that they're certified on the equipment in which they are teaching students, as well as have all the resources that they need in order to be successful. Everything from having curriculum that's derived from industry minds who help construct it, as opposed to just having a group of educators who get together and put together some sort of a curriculum. We like having industry minds weigh in on everything and make sure we're essentially trying to replicate what is being done at these manufacturing training companies departments themselves. Our goal is to mimic and mirror what you see in the training departments with these companies you see listed. We'd like to see the very own training going on in their own training departments happening within your hallways as well, within your various programs. And lastly, we think this really is a benefit for both students and your potential employers in your area, is the importance of your students being able to showcase that they are competent and well-versed on this industry equipment as they go out and try to obtain jobs in your area or beyond. And that is why the importance of being able to earn stackable industry recognized credentials plays a major role, and especially when they walk into your local industry leaders while they're job hunting and they are trying to prove that they do have the competency behind any one piece of machinery that they may be going after or any one avenue they're looking to go. Having these stackable industry recognized credentials ensures that the student has proof of learning. They're very knowledgeable on the topic at hand, as well as they can prove that to their employers. So that is a little bit just a snapshot of who we are. I can sit here and talk about it all day long, but I'd love to chat with you after the conclusion of this, if you ever have any questions, want to reach out, I'd love to get on the horn with you, or one of the members of our team would love to. But with that, I guess I better dive into our topic today of FANUC ROBOGUIDE simulation software. I know JJ's getting rowdied up over here, ready to dive into it. So just for those who may not be very familiar with FANUC, to say that they are an industry leader would be an understatement, as they represent about 65% of the industrial robots that are found worldwide. They also have a very prominent foothold in the CNC world as well with their CNC controls. Extremely, very much an industry leader. But we talk about this ROBOGUIDE simulation software, so you may be wondering, for those who aren't familiar with it, well, just what is it? And essentially, this is an offline programming software that allows for you to create and simulate robotic 3D work cells. It's actually a very heavily utilized product in industry as well. If you take, for example, let's use one of the major automakers who may be looking to switch things up on an assembly line or production line of theirs, as opposed to just jumping right in and making some changes. It's extremely beneficial for them to be able to mimic this in an offline simulation mode first, to ensure that what they're trying to do actually works. Number one, maybe they're trying to get ahead of any bug fixes that are necessary, so on and so forth. But or maybe they find out when doing the simulation that they're being a little too ambitious. Maybe what they're trying to do isn't actually realistic. But you can imagine the importance of being able to come to that decision before actually implementing it. So before you have a production line go down, for 2-3 hours, costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So we'll see. Hopefully, my good friend JJ is feeling kind today and would be willing to kind of give us a little in-depth tour with what this FANUC ROBOGUIDE is. Maybe he would even be willing to give us some steps to getting into the FANUC Customer Resource Center, otherwise known as the CRC. And within there's a plethora of information, helpful documents made available to FANUC cert instructors when school programs do partner with FANUC. It's called the FANUC cert program. And there's a wide variety of resources made available to instructors, administrators that FANUC has made. So hopefully JJ will be able to walk us through a couple things, and in particular, as it relates to this ROBOGUIDE software, maybe he can show us where to find it, how to download it, how to install it. And being that we all know that these licenses actually expire on an annual basis, it would be really cool if there was some sort of a ticker in there that would tell us, give us a bit of a countdown of how much time do we have remaining. So maybe we don't find ourselves in a position, we're halfway through a semester, our license is getting ready to expire, and bam, what do we know? Our licenses are now expired. We still have to teach a class, but we're running around with our heads cut off. So why don't we get ahead of that in advance by taking a look at our ticker? We can make sure we renew our subscriptions prior to that having to happen, and move forward in a peaceful way. So other than that, I think JJ's got a couple cool things up his sleeve he'd like to show you, even getting into creating a work cell and opening up a teach pendant, a mirrored image of the actual teach pendant, as you see on your screen right there, the very pendant that would be held by students or those in industry who are programming or operating a FANUC robot. Maybe JJ can show us a couple of tricks on how to pull that up and navigate around on it a little bit. So with that, I guess I'll take my cue to shut up, and we'll pass it on to JJ.
Justin, thank you. Yeah, let's go into this. So first thing I'm going to show everybody is when you sign up for the FANUC CERT program, you do get a welcome letter from FANUC, and also get access to the CRC site from the CRC web team. So let's get into how we get into that CRC site. What we're going to do is open up a web browser, and we're going to navigate to crc.frc.com. All right, go ahead and go there. And once you have that login from FANUC, we will get logged in here. It is a username, not your email address. So keep that in mind. Okay. And once you're in, like Justin said, you have a bunch of information in here. You can see your robots. Go to my robots. But the thing we're going to focus on today is the support and download section. Within here, we can go down to software downloads, and we can go to PC software. And if you scroll down till you see ROBOGUIDE 9, there's 6, 7, 8, and there's 9. There are 8 files we need to download. In order to keep this short and sweet for you, we've already downloaded those 8 files. What you would do is you click on each file, download them, they go into your download folder, and we'll pull them up here. And there are the 8 files right there. What we need to do is we need to compile those files into one folder. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on the first one. You'll see it's got a different icon. What it's going to do is compile all those files into one.
Yeah.
Once this comes up, we're going to say browse, and we're going to actually go down and put this wherever you would like. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my download folder, and I'm actually going to create a folder and call it ROBOGUIDE 9. Okay. So go ahead and say OK there. And we'll say install. And it's going to go through and extract all that data out of those 8 files and put them into that ROBOGUIDE 9 folder. All right, once that's finished up, it'll disappear. And now if I go to my documents, downloads, and you'll see ROBOGUIDE 9, and now we have a whole bunch of information within there that was unpacked. So what I'm going to do from here now is I'm going to go ahead and install ROBOGUIDE. So if you scroll down to setup.exe and double click. I'm going to walk you through this a little bit because there's a lot of settings in here that we really are not necessary for our application. The first thing we got to do is got to install all the requirements. We'll let that run through here.
And the good news, if you do forget what you're witnessing before you today from JJ, JJ, obviously being our service manager, is part of our full service team that we do have here. So whether you have any issues when it comes to downloads, or we are obviously in the educational world, so when things do happen, parts get broken on different various pieces of equipment, it is important that your instructors know that they have somebody to call. So we very much do have a full service team here who's certified on all of our equipment that we have to offer through our various partnerships with industry. So please do keep that in mind if and when things do happen. I know it can be frustrating. You sometimes want to pull your hair out, but we got to remember the glass half full. It is very important that as students are learning, now is the time we want them to make mistakes. Not when they get off, go down the street and walk into your largest employer in the area. So try to keep that glass half full mentality, and remember we've got plenty of people here who can assist you over the phone, or we have to come out on site, whatever it is, we're happy to be there. So just wanted to throw that 2 cents in as well.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Justin. So now we've got our, go ahead and start our installation here with FANUC ROBOGUIDE. We'll click next. If you want to read the license agreement, go right ahead. It is long, but I can assure you that it's the standard license agreement. So click yes there. If you want to change the destination folder, you can. I recommend keeping it default if you're able to. Once you get to here, we're going to actually uncheck everything. We do not have licenses for all of these products here. He kind of like the I like the analogy. ROBOGUIDE is like your Office suite, and then within Office you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all of those. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Handling Pro, Motion Pro, Paint Pro, all of those are like your individual software. So we're going to click on Handling Pro here. That's all we have the license for, and that's all you need to do. You don't want to junk up your hard drive there. So click next. You can leave everything defaulted here. If you want to add any of these, you may. But again, with that being education, we don't really utilize any of these features. So it's all up to you. If you want to play with them, you can. Click next there. I do recommend getting rid of the sample work cells. They are very, very old, and we are not going to be loading the older controllers, so they will not work. Another thing I like to uncheck is ROBOGUIDE. You don't need 2 shortcuts, because again, only loading handling pro. Click next there. So here's where it gets a little tricky. We need to get the same version of your controller on your robot. So if you do not know this, if you go to your actual robot, power it on, obviously if it's not powered on, just hit the menu button and you'll see the option for hints under the utility, the very first option. Go to hints, and once you click on hints, it will give you that version number. Today we're actually going to load version 3.9 and version 9.4. We do have a robot in our office that's version 9.3, but we also have one on the way that I know is 9.4. So we're going to get this one prepared for that. Go ahead and click on those. Before I do, actually, the most common currently right now are version 8.3, 9.1, and then if you have some older ones, R30IA controllers, you do get the 7.7 and 7.4, the common ones there. So just keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and click next here. It just gives you an overview. We'll say next here and we'll let it install. Once you get to the completion window here, if you want to read the README file, you can. I'm going to check it for take some time here, and we'll say finish. It does want you to restart so we don't lose our connection in our recording today. We're going to go ahead and say finish. Okay. We're going to go ahead and close this out. We're still in our CRC here. Let's go through a couple things here on CRC. Go back home here. If I go support and downloads and I go down to software subscriptions, this is where all of your subscriptions will be housed. In order to check on the status of our subscription, we can do that by clicking on status. This is if you want to know if a license has been used or not been used, if you're unsure of when that license might expire, things like that can all be found right here. So if I go to subscription number, you can see I have some that are expired. And I have these 8 here that are still good. So let's click on the first one here. I want to know if that one's been used or not. It looks like it has. Looks like Mr. Zelensky here used our license here on 10/14/19 last year. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the next one. It looks like I used that one back on 10/22/19. Let's go to the next one here. Number 3 is available. So we'll use that one today. Let's go back real quick. I do want to note that if you look at the top here, it does have the expiration date. It looks like it's going to expire on 10/21/2020. So again, if you wanted to find out when that's going to expire, you can always come here. There is a second location. It's a little bit easier to see that, and we'll see that once we get ROBOGUIDE activated today. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to register products. This is how we register our products. So you're going to select the subscription number. We know we're going to use number 3. All right, and the rest of this information is going to be found by going to your start menu, clicking on FANUC Robotics, and clicking on the license manager. Now, one thing to note is you do want to right click and say run as administrator. That way we make sure that license is saved and there's nothing that interferes with it. Okay. All right, so we're actually activating what's called SimPro. SimPro, Handling Pro are the exact same thing. You'll see here RTL ROBOGUIDE 900. That is our part number. We will need that information. And you notice when I clicked on this, it did populate a software code 1 and software code 2. click back to our web browser. We're going to select our part number, and like we said, it was RTL ROBOGUIDE 900. Please note that RTS is if you're using the server base, so please make sure you select the correct one. All right, let's go ahead and get our software code 1. We're just going to highlight it. We're going to copy that, and we're going to bring it over and paste it in number 1. Again, go back over, get number 2, right click, copy, and paste that in there. Email address is optional. We're just going to send you the information. It doesn't hurt to put that in there. Sometimes some IT department like to have that sent to them. Reason, leave that blank. There's no need to fill that in. All right, we'll go ahead and hit submit. Again, there's another software agreement. We'll say accept there. And now you can see it had generated registration key 1 and registration key 2. So again, we're going to go from the other way now. We're going to copy this. Go back to our license manager and registration key 1. Paste it in there. Go to number 2 here. Copy. Go back here. We're going to paste it in and say register. Okay. It should come up and say product successfully registered. Simpro. If it does say that it is not successful, get with us. We'll be happy to help you get that taken care of. All right, you can see now I've registered it. I have 202 days left. Again, this is another location where you can find out how many days are left on your license. We'll go ahead and exit there. We are done within our CRC. I'm gonna go back real quick. One other thing to note is under here, you have your e-documents. This is your user's manual for your robot, your controller software. All of that can be found in here. And you can narrow it down by clicking on the robot that you use. Okay. All right, let's close out of here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and click on Handling Pro. Open up ROBOGUIDE here, Handling Pro. And you'll notice up at the top, to that 202 days left. But this is another location where you can see how much time is remaining on your licenses. So we have 3 locations now. We have the CRC site, we have our license manager, and actually in the software as well. So we'll go ahead and create a new cell here. Okay, so click on new cell. And let's give our new cell a name. I'm going to go with demo here for this purpose. Okay, we'll say next. And today we're going to create a new robot with the default Handling Pro configuration. All right, we'll go ahead and click next here. There's a couple of different versions of the controllers listed here. Again, depending on what version your actual robot is and what you loaded is what you will be using to create your cell. In our case, we have a 9.3 robot here. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. We'll say next. If you want to add an end-of-arm tool to your robot, you can add the default here, or you can go to a CAD library over here and look at the different ones they have. There's turbo gun, there's weld. I don't know if there's weld, there might be a couple weld in there, but there are some other grippers in there as well. So if you want to look at that, you can on your time. But for today, we're going to set it later. I'm going to go with nothing for today. You do have access to the entire library of robots that FANUC has to offer, anything from the smallest robot up to their largest robot that's carrying around cars and things like that. For today, we're going to go up to the ER4U, or ER4, sorry, not U, what is it? A, sorry.
ER4IA.
ER4IA. We're going to click on that. That is the standard robot in our cart today. The other standard that we're in the past, when they started the CERT program, the LRMate 200ID was the standard. Then they did switch to the LRMate 200ID 4S. Differences there are 4 kilogram on the 4S versus the 5 kilogram on the 200ID. Today, we're going to use the ER4IA. Click on next. I think if we're going to add a third-party item into our ROBOGUIDE, we would do that here. but for today we're not going to, so we'll go and click next there. The next one is the software options such as Vision, DCS with the dual check safety, Ethernet IP, which would allow you to, like, if you want to connect our PLC to HMI trainer that we had to offer up to this, you could. Different things like that. But for the time being, for today's webinar, we're going to leave it at the default and say next. From there, you get the summary screen, just showing all the options you've selected. We're going to say finish, and our robot cell is going to be created. I just going through here, it's actually creating the virtual environment. So now our cell is created. You see a little robot down there. To zoom in, you can use your wheel on your mouse, or up here we have our zoom in and zoom out functions. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Okay. And then we'll say center, and it'll center it up on the window there. A little bit more. Okay, there's our robot. All right, so to access the teeth pendant, the little teeth pendant icon right over here. We're going to click on that. And you'll notice the teeth pendant comes up rather big. So what we're going to do is click on this icon right here, which is going to basically allow the window to be on the outside of the main window. And when I click on that, you'll see it is now on top. So this is where it might be nice to have a second monitor on your tied to your computer. So you put the teeth pendant on one monitor, and then the ROBOGUIDE on another monitor. Or you can shrink it down here. We take this and shrink it down a little bit, we'll get our whole keyboard on there, but you'll see again, it's rather small. I can move it over here on this side if I want, and then if I hold shift and right click, control and right click, I can move my robot over, and now I can bring my teeth pendant back, and I can see both. Okay. The last thing we're going to cover today is just going to jog this robot. And then in our future webinar series, we'll get more in depth on actually utilizing this robot to do different things. So just like you would on your normal teeth pendant, you have your on-off switch, turn it on. If I press the shift button once and let go, right by left clicking on it, it stays depressed. And then if I again click on the X and click again, it stops. So click once to make it go, click once to make it stop. So jog our robot all around our space here by clicking and unclicking. We'll depress shift here to make sure we don't do anything else. Press something else, we don't want to shift you down, but you can do everything you can on your normal robot. Hit menu, the same menu options, hit select, pick your programs, all of that. So just like you would on your actual robot, we can utilize the on-screen robot here. This is a great resource tool for additional robots in your classroom, maybe, you know, to help. You know, if you have 1 or 2 or 3 robots in there, it's hard to get, you know, 15, 20 students around those robots all at once. So just another tool to use. Also, it's a great remote learning tool. Students can take this home with them and things like that. So just keep in mind that ROBOGUIDE is out there, and it's a great benefit for your classroom.
Well, thank you very much, JJ. Appreciate you walking us through all that. I think you just brought up at the end there some very key points as well relative to utilizing ROBOGUIDE, not only just in your classroom. Ideally, you would love to be able to have, you know, a robot per student. That's just not how the world works, unfortunately. But we do have alternative options that we can look at exploring, such as, you know, having multiple students utilizing ROBOGUIDE while they're waiting their turn to get on an actual robot, so on and so forth. Especially when you bring up, you know, remote learning, definitely a vital tool for them to be able to continue getting their feet wet with FANUC ROBOGUIDE simulation software. I am very ecstatic for our next webinar series, in which we're going to piggyback off of this a little bit. Hopefully, unless I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, JJ, but as great as this is, seeing a visual of a FANUC teach pendant that we use to create our robotic programs and RoboGuide, it would be great, in my opinion, if we could actually be holding a real teach pendant. Do you think that that would be something we could maybe explore, where we could hold a real FANUC teach pendant, plug that into this software, and create our programs? Is that something that you would seem it to be feasible?
Oh, Justin, that's absolutely possible.
Oh boy.
That's what and I bring up a good point. Our next webinar series, we're actually going to do that. We're going to connect an actual teach pendant up to this RoboGuide software and control the robot that way. That's a great tool because, as you can see, we have difficulty viewing our teach pendant here, right? It's off the screen, it's small, things like that. And what we can do is actually eliminate that teach pendant on the screen, eliminate that second monitor if you want to. And then we can actually get the hands-on feel of an actual teach pendant, how it works, how it navigates, how it feels, get that eye-hand coordination going, and actually get and control this robot with that teach pendant. So again, that's another great resource for remote learning. You can take it home and actually get the real feel of a robot teach pendant in their home with all this remote learning going on. So yeah, Justin, that's a great point.
Yep, I agree, and I appreciate you expanding on that, because I do think, all jokes aside, it's certainly extremely beneficial for them, like you said, to have that hands-on feel. They're holding the dead man switch. They're understanding, by having that teach pendant in their hand, they're getting that muscle memory that they're going to be able to transfer over when they ultimately do get on an actual FANUC robot by using that exact same teach pendant that they're using while they're utilizing RoboGuide. Not to mention actually being able to create their programs. And then I heard through the rumor mill that you could actually USB that out and plug that into a real robot and run that program. Is that true?
That is correct as well. We'll cover that as well in that webinar. And that's the number one question we're getting these days is how do we take our student remote learning and validate it? And you can do that exactly. You can just take the teach pendant program that they've created at their home. The instructor can bring it in, put it in the actual robot, and verify that the program is programmed correctly on the actual robot.
Well, that all sounds great. We probably shouldn't jump the gun too much here, or else we're not going to be excited for our next series. So want to thank everybody out there who took the time to join us and listen. Stay tuned. Here in about a week or so, we will be putting out our next recording, getting into all of our aforementioned items here, expanding upon different functionalities within RoboGuide, introducing that teach pendant. And we look forward to having you join us at our next one. Again, as I alluded to earlier, if you have any requests for any type of topic or theme, anything you'd like to see, feel free to get a hold of us. We're going to pull up a slide here that has our contact information. Feel free to reach out. And like I said, whether it's you'd like to comment and say that I have poor jokes, or you want to drop a line as to what you'd like to see, or if you have any other questions or want to start a conversation whatsoever, we'd be more than happy to talk to you. So thanks again, and we look forward to catching you at our next series.